If you remember, last year's Galaxy A50 was one of the highest selling mid-range phones of 2019. The company had already updated it with the Galaxy A50s, but disappointingly, it came with very few and insignificant upgrades. And now we have another phone in the Galaxy A50 lineup, the Galaxy A51. This time around though, there have been quite a few interesting improvements. However, the competition has gotten even fiercer in 2020, coming from brands like Poco, Redmi and Realme. Now, we've already covered a lot about this device on our hands-on review of it, but now that I've used it for a long time, a very long time actually, this is our detailed review of the Galaxy A51. Let's start with the design. Compared to the A50, I found quite a few improvements here. First, the 3D holographic cut patterns look amazing. And in terms of color choices, I have the white one and the blue variant with me, and both look very soothing. The cameras at the back also have a new look, similar to that of Samsung Galaxy S20 series. You still get a plastic back and frame in here, but what I really like about this phone is how light it is. I recently reviewed the Poco X2 and the Realme 6 Pro, and well, both of them felt very heavy and boxy, whereas the Galaxy A51 is really thin, light and comfortable to use. So overall, I like this phone for its design and build, if not for its plastic back and frames. Moving on to the display, you know that I'm going to appreciate it thanks to Samsung's signature SuperAMOLED panel. And the centered punch hole cutout makes the Galaxy A51's display aesthetically pleasing. Talking about the panel itself, it's a big 6.5 inches display with quite cinematic 20:9 aspect ratio. And yes, the display quality is excellent as we've come to expect from Samsung. Here the colors are great and so is the contrast ratio. Additionally, the phone gets a decent amount of brightness as well, with almost no compromise on visibility even when you're outdoors in a well-lit environment. Adding to that, the touch response on the Galaxy A51 is fantastic. Although it is still a regular 60Hz panel, navigating through the phone is quite swift. Just for comparison, I tried it out against the Realme X2, which has an AMOLED panel as well. However, the superiority of the A51 was quite apparent upon a rather quick inspection. One more thing, there is this dated Corning Gorilla Glass 3 protection on the phone, and I'm not gonna lie, I do have a few minor scratches on the screen. So if anybody from Samsung is watching this, one quick suggestion, maybe you could include an inbuilt screen protector just like you do on your expensive flagship models. Honestly, that is going to help a lot. Now let's talk cameras, and like the display, this one is equally amazing. Apart from the camera arrangement I talked about earlier, you get a quad camera setup in here. There's the 48 megapixel primary camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, a 5 megapixel depth sensor, and the final one is a 5 megapixel macro sensor. Now, talking about the primary camera, as we usually see on Samsung phones, the A51's 12 megapixel pixel bin shots have an incredible amount of detail with decent dynamic range and punchy colors. In the process of testing the cameras, I also compared it against the Poco X2, which is because it comes in the same price range as the Galaxy A51. But more precisely, I did the comparison because the Poco X2 comes with the latest Sony IMX686 sensor. Anyways, compared to the Poco X2, I was quite surprised to see how the Galaxy A51 held its word. Just look at these images. The A51 produces quite eye-catching colors, especially the sky in comparison. Getting to the nighttime images, the Poco X2 images are better, be it in a normal nighttime shot or from the dedicated night mode. Despite that, in other different scenarios, I had a very hard time distinguishing which one's better. But what's definitely distinguishable are the images from the ultra-wide-angle lens. Here, the A51 takes the crown as it's got the better of everything, from width to detail to dynamic range to colors. Talking about macro shots, like I've been saying in many of our phone reviews, it's just a gimmick and is way less practical. In the case of the A51 as well, it's not very useful, though you can get some acceptable images with good lighting. Similarly, the regular and portrait selfie images are also better on the Galaxy A51 with better colors, details and sharper focus compared to the Poco X2. Getting to the videos, though it supports 4K recording, it is limited to 30 FPS and lacks stabilization. On the contrary, you still get quite stable videos in 1080p videos. Similar to the photos, the videos have quite good colors and dynamic range. And as expected on a Samsung phone, you also get the super steady mode, slow-mo and super slow-mo video modes. Talking about the software version, the Galaxy A51 runs on Android 10 with One UI 2.0 on top. And the difference between the original One UI 1.0 to this version of One UI is great. Although there are not many visual differences, I did notice that this one is a lot smoother. Having said that, there is still a slight hint of lag while navigating through the apps and multitasking. Comparatively, it's just not as swift as, say, the one on the Poco X2 or the Realme X2. And that's definitely because of the same old Exynos 9611 that's powering it, which, by the way, is just a slight improvement over Exynos 9610 on the original Galaxy A50. What's even more unacceptable is how Samsung's new Galaxy M21, with its much less going price, shares the same chipset to the Galaxy A51. We've been consistently complaining about the company's chipset selection in their A series of lineup, and at this point, I am really tired of it. I mean, how inconsiderate can one get? The Galaxy A71 we reviewed a couple of weeks back has the Snapdragon 730, and its performance is, let's say, good. Well, if you think about it, the Galaxy A51 should be the one powered by the Snapdragon 730, and the Galaxy A71 should have been powered by something even more powerful. Well, keeping that aside, when it comes to gaming, the performance is similar to that of last year's Galaxy A50. Graphic-intensive games like PUBG run at an acceptable 40 FPS mark in smooth graphics and ultra frame rates, while Call of Duty is playable on high graphics and high refresh rate. But as you push the settings higher, you get a ton of stutters and lags to the state of not being able to enjoy the gameplay. Also, the phone got a little warm near the camera module while gaming for a little while. Therefore, with its underpowering SoC, the Galaxy A51 is definitely not for those gaming-centric audience. In terms of memory, there is either 4, 6 or 8 GB of RAM and 64 or 128 GB of storage. The one I have has a 6 128 GB configuration with a dedicated micro SD card slot for storage expansion. As for the in-display fingerprint sensor, it is much faster and accurate than its predecessor, and with the recent update, it has gotten even better. But despite this, it is nowhere near comparable to what the competitors are offering with their faster sensor. But at the end of the day, it gets the job done and you'll get used to it pretty soon. Likewise, the software-based face unlock is okay too, but still isn't the fastest. Now moving to the battery, there isn't any upgrade from its predecessors. The 4000 mAh battery in fact yields similar endurance as the Galaxy A50 and A50s and gives a solid 1-day battery life. In my time with the phone, it gave me around 6 hours of screen on time, which consisted of 2 hours of binging YouTube, about an hour of gaming, and over an hour of social media usage. Though the endurance itself is amazing, the charging, well, not so much. You are still stuck with the 15-watt fast charging, which now can be seen on budget Samsung phones. So it would have been much nicer if Samsung had included a 25-watt charging technology like the Samsung Galaxy A71. With the 15-watt charger, it takes about 1 hour and 50 minutes for the Galaxy A51 to get charged from 0 to 100%. The audio quality on this phone is okay-ish too. It has a mono speaker that gets the job done, but I think Samsung should include a stereo setup, at least in their upper A series devices, to make it more value-packed and distinguish it from their cheaper M series. Similarly, there is no problem that I faced with the 3.5mm headphone jack, and even in terms of call quality, the audio is loud and clear. In conclusion, I got in a dilemma as to how I should give a verdict on the Galaxy A51. While reviewing it, I kept on asking myself, who is this phone for? And I think it is a perfect phone for a casual smartphone user who does not emphasize a lot on gaming and performance. Someone like my sister who does not play high-end games and just wants a stylish phone with a great display and great cameras because she binges a lot of Amazon Prime content on her phone. However, if you are someone with a higher performance standard, then this phone is not the optimal choice for you. I think you should rather go with the Poco X2 or the Realme X2 instead. And one more thing to consider is that Samsung is known for dropping the price of its A series smartphones from time to time. So right now this phone costs like 38,000 here in Nepal, but in about a month or two this phone should get a price drop of like 5,000 rupees, and that would be an even better time to buy this phone. So that was our detailed review of the Samsung Galaxy A51. If you liked the review, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon so that you get notified each time we upload an awesome new video. Till then, I'm Pratima Adhikari. Stay indoors and stay safe.